What up, YouTube? You already post-fight video, the Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor fight. Now, before I give y'all the summary of what happened in the fight, I'm going to tell y'all the results first. Teofimo Lopez was able to win this fight via unanimous decision. And I personally had the fight score 118 to 111 in favor of Teofimo Lopez. And if y'all see the fight, if y'all haven't seen it already, to sum up what happened in the fight, it was a very one-sided fight. It was a clinic put on by Teofimo Lopez, and y'all should be able to tell if y'all didn't catch the fight. Y'all know that Teofimo Lopez, based on how I had the fight scored, it was quite one-sided. Now the official judges, they had it scored a lot more closer than how I had it scored. However, if y'all saw the fight yourselves and y'all educated when it comes to the sport of boxing and y'all been watching for a long time, then y'all would know that this fight wasn't competitive at all. And I say this was Teofimo Lopez's best performance thus far in his career, and what I say is the biggest and the most important fight that he's fought in his pro career. And he performed better in this fight versus Josh Taylor than he did versus Vasily Lomachenko. And I say that because this fight was a lot more closer and a lot more competitive than it was when he fought Vasily Lomachenko. And Teofimo Lopez, he was able to get in his rhythm and was able to pop his shots and be accurate and be precise with his shots, and his timing was immaculate, and as well as his ability to catch Josh Taylor trying to close that gap versus him was very spectacular, very subpar. It was versus Josh Taylor in this fight. And Josh Taylor, he couldn't get anything going for his momentum because he couldn't close that gap versus Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez's explosiveness and his athleticism and his maneuvers around the ring was too much for Josh Taylor to handle. And Josh Taylor was getting affected by the crisp punches and shots from Teofimo Lopez, because Teofimo Lopez, whenever he would accumulate multiple shots versus Josh Taylor, and he was very active and his work rate was impressive and his volume was also impressive as well. And Teofimo Lopez, he was landing at will and throwing at will as well, and he was catching Josh Taylor with every shot that it seemed like that he was throwing at Josh Taylor. And Josh Taylor, he couldn't, as I said, do his efficient work. He couldn't fight at the range that he wanted to fight at. He couldn't pressure Teofimo Lopez because anytime he tried to close that gap, he would be getting timed, he would be getting countered with the effective shots that Teofimo Lopez was landing at will. And this, I say, as I said, is definitely a good look for Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez, as y'all know, his only loss versus George Gambosis was a close, competitive, compelling bout. And if y'all didn't know, he had some lung problems, lung issues when he fought George Gambosis, and he gave up a great fight versus George Gambosis when he was the unified lightweight champion, and then he moved up to super lightweight and he put on a great performance versus his opponent in his first fight at 140, and then in his second fight versus Sandor Martin, he put on a good performance. However, it was very close and very competitive. I say that because That's how the fight went when he fought Sandor Martin. However, I did not know that he had hurt his shoulder few weeks prior to the fight versus Sandor Martin, and that could have affected how he performed versus Sandor Martin. And people were saying that because of his not so up to par performance versus Sandor Martin, that he didn't deserve a title shot versus Josh Taylor, who was up until today the Lineal super lightweight champion. However, all the questions are cleared, and it showed Teofimo Lopez is arguably the best fighter at 140 pounds. It's either him or Regis Progress. I'd give that title of being the best fighter at super lightweight to Regis Progress because he's been fighting there for a longer period amount of time, and he's been a household name as super lightweight and has fought at a top level as super lightweight longer than Teofimo Lopez has fought as super lightweight. However, after a performance like this definitely could put Teofimo Lopez up there as the best super lightweight in the world after beating who many people consider as the best fighter as super lightweight. You look at the resume of Josh Taylor. He won the Super Series tournament at super lightweight when he defeated Regis Progress in a very close competitive bout, and then he defeated Jose Ramirez to become the undisputed super lightweight champion. And Jose Ramirez and Regis Progress has been, I say, one of the best fighters who's been fighting at a top level as super lightweight for quite a while. And for Josh Taylor to get a victory versus those guys who I named, such as Ramirez and Progress, definitely put Josh Taylor up there as a former undisputed super lightweight champion as without a doubt the best fighter as super lightweight. And for Teofimo Lopez to get this emphatic victory over Josh Taylor definitely has catapulted him amongst the top of the super lightweights, and definitely is a statement-making performance by Teofimo Lopez that puts him up as one of the elite fighters amongst all of boxing, because I don't know if I would put him at the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. However, this performance was a performance that a top-level pound-for-pound fighter would put on, and this definitely was a comeback statement made by Teofimo Lopez. And to give Josh Taylor this defeat, and it was a convincing one, that he got over on Josh Taylor. And what can be next for Teofimo Lopez? And I know many people are going to be expecting Teofimo Lopez to put on more performances like this. And Josh Taylor, he is still, I would say, a top-level contender as super lightweight, and there's still some good marketable fights out there for him. And this is back-to-back disappointing performances for Josh Taylor, because I said this in my preview video that Jack Catterall should have got the win over Josh Taylor in Josh Taylor's last fight. And Josh Taylor, he hasn't fought in over a year. Now, I'm not going to say any excuses about ring rust for this lack of performance in this fight versus Teofimo Lopez, because he had a lot of time to prepare for this fight versus Teofimo Lopez. And for a former undisputed champion and a defending champion who was considered the best fighter at super lightweight, there shouldn't be any excuses, and there should have been a well prepped training camp for Josh Taylor to prep himself for a fight of this magnitude. And as for Teofimo Lopez, for him to get this win the way he did and get this title as a Lineal and WBO super lightweight champion, this is as I said, very good look for Teofimo Lopez. And this definitely should advance Teofimo Lopez amongst the top ranks, not only at super lightweight, however, amongst the top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world, because Josh Taylor was amongst the top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world. And for him to get this win over Josh Taylor the way he did, he definitely should be up for contention at being amongst the top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world. And he is a champion at a weight class where it is very competitive and the scene is very healthy at super lightweight, and there is plenty high level fighters that could challenge for his Ring Magazine and WBO super lightweight titles. And as I said, this division has got a lot of good fighters. Jose Ramirez had an impressive performance in his last fight. That's a former world champion at super lightweight. There is Regis Progress, who's got a fight coming up next week, and they could try and unify the titles at super lightweight between these two champions. I say it's either Regis Progress or Teofimo Lopez that is the best fighter at super lightweight. And there's also Barboza, who's been wanting to fight Teofimo Lopez for quite a while now, and that will call for a good fight as well, as Barboza is a undefeated fighter who is a top level contender at super lightweight as well. And then there is Zepeda, there is Comey, there is Catterall, there is talks of Devin Haney potentially moving up to super lightweight. And as y'all know, leading up to this fight, there was a face-off with Teofimo Lopez Sr. and Bill Haney. And Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez has been talked about to potentially fight each other in the future when they was both at lightweight, and that would call for a compelling bout as well. And I don't know if Devin Haney, when he immediately moves up to super lightweight, deserves a title shot for his first fight at super lightweight, and that's if he decides to move up to super lightweight. And as for a rematch, I don't think it's necessary because of how one-sided this fight was. And as for Josh Taylor, he, I say, should have another fight versus Jack Catterall at super lightweight out there in England or Scotland, wherever they want to have that fight, because he draws more out there. And it's going to be a better look for Josh Taylor to have a fight. It would be more marketable for Josh Taylor to have a fight at England or Scotland or around that area for him to have a comeback fight. I don't think, unless he fights a American fighter of a big magnitude, I don't think it'll make sense for him to have another fight for a comeback performance, a hopeful comeback performance that is, in America. And I don't know if he's going to stay at super lightweight. That's why I said if he's going to have a next fight and it's going to be in fact at super lightweight, then it should be versus Jack Catterall, who he had a questionable decision win over. If he decides to move up to welterweight, now I don't know if that would be a good look for him, especially after a performance like this. I don't know if he had any trouble making weight at 140, and if his frame fits better for him to compete at 147 instead, then I say Josh Taylor would need a tune-up fight, a welcome fight at 147. That would be setting him up to climb up amongst the ranks and say that he could fight at a high level at welterweight before he can consider himself a contender at welterweight after a loss like this versus Teofimo Lopez. Now, a loss doesn't tarnish a fighter's legacy. You could look at all the greats throughout boxing history. Majority of the greatest fighters have losses on their records, and this calls for fighters to bounce back better for their future, and this is a learning lesson more than anything. Teofimo Lopez, man, look at him for example. He took a loss, and then he bounced back and was on the redemption road, and now is once again the unified champion at super lightweight. And he's came back better and stronger, and I say this was definitely the best performance in his career thus far. Now, that does it for this post-fight video. Y'all let me know what y'all opinions are from this fight that y'all saw. Comment, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff, and I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.